grow your business and our amazing partners, the JBDC. They have been doing it and doing it well. Chief Executive Officer, Acting Executive Officer Harold Davis, like music to our ears. Okay, I have to buy you a drink for that, man.
Indeed,
You have to
indeed.
catch me first. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you, doing, Jerry?
Very grateful. You know, the gratitude thing is underestimated, so I work with it because it works.
Absolutely,
Yes, man.
absolutely, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about where we're going today. I know that there's always something very, very substantial. We're talking about the markets, the tariffs, and what that means for us.
Yeah. Last week, we have our BizZone series
Right.
that we do every so often, and we focus on critical issues for our MSME constituents that they are interested in, that they need to understand further, that there is sometimes some disquiet about. Otherwise, there is some anticipation for great things about. So we just share salient information that the sector is in that session. So last week we focused on, and we had Trade Board as our guest presenter. We focused on the whole business of export strategizing, tariffs, and MSMEs, how MSMEs are affected accordingly, or how MSMEs can leverage that
Hmm.
what's happening in the world now. And Dr. Blake and his team did an amazing job in terms of breaking it down and speaking to our MSMEs who were online. Quite a few, over 60 MSMEs were online taking in the information and broke it down in terms of what the tariffs mean, what the tariffs are, how they will affect or could affect what's going on in global trade, and certainly in specifically our trade into the U.S., how it's affecting world trade, generally speaking, and what are some of the opportunities that our MSMEs can jump on to make sure that they're not disenfranchised in any way.
Hmm.
JBDC ourselves, when the tariffs and the U.S. Announcements came, we did an analysis of ourselves of what was going on and the effect that would have on our MSMEs. And in fact, we spoke with our constituents, our MSMEs, to get their reaction and to get their sense as to how they think it will affect them. And then thereafter, we have been in constant dialogue with our clients as to things that persons could do and businesses ought to do to 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 deal with the situation as it is in the world. I mean, the tariff announcements created some serious uncertainties in world trade, and certainly our MSMEs, and we being the home of MSMEs, we needed to make sure that our MSMEs understood what this was about, and understood what it is that could happen and could happen, and what it is that they could do to alleviate some of this situation, and in fact to benefit, because there are in fact opportunities to be had. So that's what we want to share this morning in our short dialogue with you, Jerry. Some of those findings some of those learnings rather from our workshop last week with the Trade Board and Dr. Blake, and
Yes.
and certainly some of the things that we believe that ought to happen, and our MSMEs need to be focused on going forward in this time of uncertainty. Let's say,
Right.
but there's always opportunity in any situation. So that's what we want to be focused on.
Absolutely. A crisis presents fear and opportunity, or caution and opportunity. I don't like the word fear, but caution and opportunity. What are some of the gems? Were there any surprises? Because that's the beauty of dialogue. Open dialogue is that you have a grasp of your subject matter. You've been involved in this aspect of this sector in terms of the guidance, the hand holding, the empowerment, all of that through the JBDC for a while. But then every now and again, a gem drops in some dialogue or something that may be a new trend, a new gap, something. Any nuggets in there? We're hungry for some nuggets.
Yeah, well, let's start by the things that may. Let's start by discussing things that may be of 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 a kind of alarming a little bit to our
Yes,
MSMEs, because knowledge is power, and once you know, you know,
that's right.
once you know, you know. Once you don't know, is a problem.
True,
So,
true.
for instance, in terms of the clarity, in terms of what the tariffs really mean, it
Right.
means that importers of Jamaican goods and products now will have to pay 10% more just to enter into that market, and that in and of itself creates price competitiveness issues, because nobody will sit and necessarily absorb that themselves. They're going to pass it on to the consumer in most instances. That's the importer now who is in the US. So it means that the same product on the shelf in the US is going to be 10% more.
Mm,
So that's what it means really when you hear this business of tariffs, and what it really means for a consumer. And I think our MSMEs who are in the business of exporting, because 60% of our products, of our exports rather, go to the US as it is presently. So it's no small deal; it's a big deal.
of course.
So our producers here need to know that is what it actually means. So how do we know, having that knowledge, how do we know mitigate against that, or put in strategies and structures and pricing, supply chain strategies and things of that nature to mitigate against that reality? That's the first thing that we need to be affair with, and comfortable with. That's what what the tariffs mean present,
Hmm.
as it is now. But there are
Right.
several opportunities, though, that we can. Having said that, there are several opportunities that we can begin to look at. For instance, we at JBDC here, we preach the whole business of resilience in your business
Right.
structure. What does that mean? That means that you need to be in your thinking about your business as it is structure, wherever you're thinking of selling your goods. You need to be thinking of product diversification. You need to be thinking of market diversification. You need to be thinking about robust and diversified supply chain. In other words, what that means is that you can't focus on just one product as in your business model. You can't focus on just one market in your business model. In order to facilitate and to engender resilience in your business, you have to have the habits that foster resilience. And those habits
Hmm.
include making sure that you have a product that is on the shelf not only because of price point, but because of high quality and product diversification. That's the very first
Hmm.
thing. So therefore, when the price shocks come in the marketplace, you're not hanging your hat on price. You're hanging your hat on product diversification and quality. And JBDC, through our incubators and so on, and our whole approach to business support, ensure that there's innovation. You focus on innovation as in your business product, in your product offerings itself. Yeah. So
Hmm.
that's
Yes.
very, very important. So when you get into the marketplace, price points are fickle. price points can change for a whole barrage. We just realized that right away from yesterday to today. I'm just using it as an example. 10% has gone on your price. So therefore,
right.
you have to be competing on much more than just price. You have to be competing on something more substantial and something more fundamental that in the marketplace. That is product diversification, product diversification and quality. Market diversification is also something. Now, we have been cultured in Jamaica that when we're looking to export, we're looking immediately to where our family them lives. and we think about the US, think about Canada, we think about UK, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many other markets. Jamaica brand is huge in Nigeria, as you know. Jamaica's brand is so big that it provides an entree into markets that we haven't even thought about. I was just watching a YouTube this morning, as I do, to kind of get your mind oiled a little bit. And they were talking about the value of Jamaica's brand in some rather random countries. We need to begin to understand how it is that we facilitate our goods entering into those other markets, Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, much more, other countries in Europe, and many of them, there are trade agreements that are not being sufficiently exploited for our goods to enter into these markets at preferential rates. So as entrepreneurs, another lesson learned in this whole scenario and another opportunity is for us to really begin to drill down, dig down, and look at some new opportunities in fresh markets that we hadn't thought about before. And we'd be surprised. The work that Trade Board does, for instance, in their Export Jamaica product and their Export Academy product, will allow entrepreneurs, having gone on to those portals, to allow entrepreneurs to understand what the demands are in all over the world. They are in touch with about 190 countries all over the world to make sure that the information is available to entrepreneurs. So Export Jamaica is the platform, and the Export Academy also helps in that process. Also, our sister agency, Jump. Mm-hmm.
Yes, as you're saying, we're plumb out of time, but we really need to continue the conversation and also hear the perspective of our trade board friends as well. I'm just seeing value in what you're saying, and the truth is, you're right. Bring value to another market, and even the existing market, you can sneak in some more value with the tariffs, and then people will see it as worth far more than the extra 10%.
Yes, man. That's the idea. That's the idea. As you realize, it has been on our mind, so we have a lot to say
about it. Absolutely, we can't say everything out the street. But thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Yeah,